Is veganism dead or over in 2024? I got asked this recently and it really got me thinking, so let's explore. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, just a quick reminder that I'm now offering the SIBO organic acid stool test and consult via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video. So I think the questions of whether veganism is over, in decline or stalling are particularly important questions. It does appear lately that veganism is stalling, and if this is genuinely the case, then we need to explore why, so that the reasons for this can be addressed so that the movement continues to grow and not fade into obscurity. So let's start by looking at some of the stats surrounding veganism. In 2000, less than 0.1% of the global population was vegan. By 2024, this figure has risen to an estimated 1 to 2%. While this represents a 1,400% increase over 24 years, it's certainly modest given the growth in information sharing through the internet and social media. I would therefore argue that the messaging around veganism clearly isn't resonating as effectively as other movements. Now, I know veganism is clearly more than a dietary pattern, but I think it's an important starting point for the conversation, as food is the thing that connects every single one of us. So the messaging around veganism isn't resonating. What do I mean by this? So to illustrate the point, from 2000 to 2024, the percentage of people buying organic food in the West increased from 1 to 6%. The gluten-free population grew from 1 to around 6%, and even the keto diet, particularly popular in the US, rose from around 0.1% to today around 5 to 6%. These movements have grown significantly faster and larger than veganism. Now, I know we are not comparing apples with apples here, but you get my point. One reason for this slower growth, I believe, might be the PR surrounding veganism, which can often be seen as combative, aggressive, and isolationist. Now, I think these areas are particularly important to consider, because if veganism is its own worst enemy where growth and PR is concerned, then this needs to be addressed if more animals are to be saved, as well as improving people's health. Now, whether we are talking about business, politics, religion, or animal rights movements, then the success of a movement is often determined by those leading and driving those movements. Popular leaders who appeal to a wide audience can build trust, amplify the movement's message, and mobilise support, driving progress and fostering unity. Alternatively, leaders who generate negative press and opinions can create division, undermine credibility, and attract detrimental media attention, hindering the movement's growth. By maintaining a positive image, communicating clearly, practicing inclusivity, and addressing criticisms constructively, leaders can ensure their message resonates broadly, paving the way for meaningful and sustained change. Now, this is absolutely not a criticism of anyone at all, but I would argue that in 2024, veganism has very few effective leaders who are moving veganism forward in an effective way, and the stats tell us this. I have nothing against influencers like the vegan teacher and the vegan booty personally, but it does seem that their messaging gets so lost in the tidal wave of negativity that surrounds them. So I'm not sure how too many people can see this as a positive thing. Aggressive or confrontational vegan activism can often backfire, making people defensive and less receptive to the message. Shock tactics such as graphic images of animal cruelty or extreme public demonstrations can reinforce negative stereotypes about vegans being militant or fanatical. These methods can alienate potential supporters who might otherwise be open to adopting a more plant-based vegan lifestyle. Now, I will absolutely concede that this form of activism clearly works for some. But the question that we should all be asking is, how many is some? If the vegan teacher, for example, was getting so much negative attention on social media through confrontational activism, but this was still helping convert a large amount of people become vegan, then the negativity surrounding her would have a positive net effect. But if this form of activism is hindering the message and alienating many more people from becoming vegan, then I would always say, how is this good for the animals? But how do you determine what type of activism is more beneficial for veganism? Well, there are a number of studies and reviews that have looked at these areas. The study, an original social marketing campaign to try vegan, analysed Veganuary's inclusive approach, which encourages trying veganism for a month through positive messaging about health and environmental benefits. This approach engaged over 900,000 participants, showing significant positive cognitive, emotional and behavioural impacts. Compared to confrontational tactics, which often alienate people, the non-confrontational strategy proved far more effective in building sustained support and promoting a positive transition to veganism. The Psychology of Effective Activism is a review that synthesizes various research findings on the psychological aspects of activism. This review highlights the importance of clear communication, inclusivity, and constructive criticism in achieving long-term goals. It draws on multiple studies to suggest that these methods are generally far more effective than confrontational tactics, emphasizing the need to align activist strategies with specific objectives and to consider their psychological impact on both activists and their target audiences. There are lots of studies that show time and time again that non-confrontational activism is far more effective in building sustained support and promoting sustainable change. So if we know this, then why are we so in this cycle of confrontational activism across social media? Well, confrontation and drama unfortunately leads to views on social media, and people confuse meaningful change with meaningless views. And quite frankly, many influencers and activists in 2024 love the limelight, often a little bit more than they love the activism. Another critical point to consider is the accessibility of veganism. Rightly or wrongly, many people perceive veganism as expensive or elitist, and addressing this misconception is vital for the movement's growth. Affordable and accessible vegan options must be highlighted and promoted. And just a caveat, there are many great vegan food channels, but I can't tell you how many channels that I watch who still to this day make 35 ingredient recipes that cost as much as the GDP of small countries, and they think this is actually helping people. There are so many different areas where the messaging around veganism is too confrontational. Education, cultural perceptions, and environmental concerns, to name a few. You know, whenever I think of veganism, the word that always comes to mind is perfectionism. There are too many people who wouldn't even consider it to be a good thing if the world went 70% plant-based because it doesn't meet their vegan standards, not thinking that so many more animals and human lives would be saved in the process. Some vegans wouldn't even entertain the fact that ethical omnivores could be allies. Now, yes, I fully understand that there is not really an ethical way of taking an animal's life, but there are certainly more humane ways of treating animals in the animal industry. Rather than viewing them as adversaries, vegans can find common ground with ethical omnivores to advocate for more humane and sustainable farming practices. Ethical omnivores often choose free-range, pasture-raised and organic options, supporting farms that uphold high welfare standards for animals. By collaborating with these individuals, vegans can amplify their message and push for systemic changes within the food industry. The world is not vegan, and it's not going to turn vegan anytime soon, and the stats tell us this. For me, yes, in an ideal world, everyone would be vegan. But this is showing no signs of becoming a reality. So is veganism over in 2024? It's not over, but for me, it's certainly stalling. And for me, until it becomes less confrontational, less perfectionistic, and less judgmental, then the animals and humans will continue to suffer at the same high rates for the foreseeable future. Anyhow, that's the end of today's video, and if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out this one up here because I'm sure you'll find it equally interesting. And the only other thing that's left for me to say is to remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.